RizaL's El Filibusterismo. The sequel of the novel Noli Me Tangere is El Filibusterismo. This novel focuses more on political aspects, presenting conflicting views about revolution. Moreover, conceived in a repressive society, and indeed more of a contemplation on revolution, which is the last recourse of the oppressed people after all pacific means employed fail. Furthermore, the title El Filibusterismo literally means revolution. It signifies a movement severely punished by the government. It also deals with different alternatives of averting it as well as explaining why a revolution takes place. El Filibusterismo is a work of fiction. Like the Noli, it had references to real-life characters. The novel was dedicated to the Gomburza, the martyred priest whose death left an indelible mark in the mind of RizaL. Like Noli Me Tangere, El Filibusterismo aims at enlightening the society at bringing the Filipinos closer to the truth. The main theme of the novel is vengeance. Others are cruelty, patriotism, love and heartbreaks, and right to education. RizaL in Ghent. RizaL left Brussels for Ghent on July 5, 1891. Because of cheaper costs of printing in Ghent, evade the enticing attraction of Petite Suzanne. In the city, RizaL met Jose Alejandro Evangelista of Manila, who was then studying engineering at the University of Ghent. RizaL suffered on the Ghent because of limited and meager financial hias. The publication of El Filibusterismo. RizaL searched for lowest quotation for the printing of Feli. Fortunately, he found F. Mayer Van Loo Press, willing to publish his novel on installment basis. Due to lack of funds, Valentin Ventura, a friend of RizaL in Paris, came to support with financial assistance. The publication was completed on September 1981 and shipped to Hong Kong, and which were smuggled into the Philippines. A comparison of the Noli and Feli. First, let me identify the characteristics of the Noli Me Tangere. A romantic novel, a work of the heart, book of feeling, to the motherland, and 64 chapters. And then, the El Filibusterismo, a political novel, a work of the head, book of thought, for the Gomburza, and 38 chapters. Symbolic interpretation of El Filibusterismo. Simon could be made to represent the portion of Filipino society which, tired of oppressors' rule, wanted that rule to be overthrown at all costs, but had no systematic plan for the new society if the old is overthrown. Maria Clara, who after suffering from untold physical and spiritual abuse for at least 13 years, at least dies, can still be made to symbolize in the Feli, the friar-dominated culture which is now ripe for revolution. That there is no eventual union between Simon and Maria Clara, not even meeting the two since they parted 13 years ago, and significant. Also, Simon wanted very much to see and possess her. He was not permitted to do so. This is indicative, symbolically speaking, of RizaL's refusal to recognize that the friar-dominated Filipino culture could still be reinvigorated through the infusion of new elements into its anemic bloodstream. Señor Pasta, the idealist turned mercenary, could be made to represent that portion of Filipino society who have abandoned their noble social ideals and have become thoroughly self-seeking opportunists, serving only the interests of those who have hired them. Isagani, a young student who is inspired by high ideals for his country, but at critical moment apparently and unwittingly forgets those ideals for selfish reasons, could be made to symbolize the untested and unreachable idealism of a segment of the educated Filipino youths of the time. Paulita Gomez, the hapless object of Isagani's affection, a girl who is more free from the fetters of convention than Maria Clara, can be made to represent the portion of Filipino womanhood still half-breed like Maria Clara, which is relatively enlightened but which is itself almost thoroughly bereft of love of country and of a desire for the social good. Basilio, the medical student who, despite the extreme sufferings undergone by his family as a result of clerical perfidy and cruelty, refuses to entertain any revolution, though even in the face of rampant social injustice, could be made to symbolize that segment of the educated Filipino society which has been so brutalized that it has become insensible to the social welfare. Placido Penitente is another young man who has been so disillusioned by the state of affairs. He finds himself in as a student, entertains the desire to go abroad. When shown by Simon some signs of a possible uprising, he becomes so frightened that he could not make up his mind whether to join or not to join. He persuasively could be made to symbolize those elements of Philippine society which had not yet been infused with a national sentiment or social conscience. Cabisang Tales, a victim of land grabbing by the friars, became desperate and joined the outlaws for personal revenge. He died of fever and found no justice in courts. Don Custodio, a typical Spanish official in the country, who occupies several positions despite the absence of qualification, believes that any idea that does not come from him deserves no consideration. As a character in the Feli, RizaL portrayed him as one who finds pleasure in developing a feeling of inferiority among the people. Huli, innocent-looking and unaffected daughter of Cabisang Tales and sweetheart of Basilio, took her own life because of her love for honor and chastity rather than surrender her womanhood to the mundane desire of Father Camorra. The message of Feli. RizaL's message in El Filibusterismo is very clear that the present system of government in the Philippines through corrupt officials dominated by the friars can lead to the downfall of Spain. This point was stressed by Simon in the novel when he said, "What is a man to do when he is denied justice? Take the law into his hands or wait for Spain to give him rights." From the foregoing, RizaL was very certain that because of the nature and operation of the government, those who are intelligent, generous, hardworking, courageous, and loyal citizens were driven into opposition, crime, and subversion. RizaL after the Feli. RizaL gave up the idea of gradual and peaceful emancipation of the country. RizaL became a separatist, considering that he left to God the attainment of independence, and RizaL decided to sever his connection with the propagandists in Madrid to avert possible split in their unity.